might, Chad might be older, but Jim definitely looks older. There we go. Us bald guys have to stick together, I kind of planned some jokes, and I was thinking about them. I told Lindsay the other day, and she said, "You can't say that in front of church." So if anybody wants to hear any of my jokes, well, I get off the property here, after church. You guys can meet me. I got some good jokes for you. Just can't say in church. I might get a lightning strike or something on top of me. So, thank you, Jim, for the kind words and being invited up here. So we're going to talk a little bit about our story. This is just obviously a portion of ours, and hopefully we're under the 7-minute time limit. So somebody keep track and raise your hand when I'm over 7 minutes, okay? Lindsay and I grew up in the church. Obviously, I'm not from Plymouth, but Lindsay is, so she grew up here in Plymouth attending church with her family, and I did with mine. We met in college and started dating at Ball State University, right? There we go. All right, so we met there, and soon after that we got married on March 5th, which was just the other day, and we just celebrated our 14th wedding anniversary. So, thank you. And when we were dating and when we were newly married, we were both Christians, and probably not very well following Christians, but we would both consider ourselves Christian, but we never really found a church. We moved a few different places south of here and kind of moved around a little bit, never really had a community, especially a faith community. So we attended a few different churches, throughout where we lived and never really found a home. In 2013, we moved here to Plymouth, and we started, at that point in our marriage, we started talking about having a family. And we knew that we wanted to raise our kids in church just like we were raised. So we went to a few different churches in the area, and we never really found a home. So we wanted to start doing that, and we started going to another church in the community. After over the years, we kind of settled on a church. So this is kind of what Lindsay said.
No, you're good. We did want to mention, before we got married, we took a course called Financial Peace University, and through this story, I think you will understand why that is significant to us. So through taking this course, we decided that before we got married, we were going to be on the same page with our finances. And through our first year and a half or 2 years of marriage, we decided that we were going to pay off all of our debts. So we lived really below our means. We worked extra jobs, and we wanted to have no debt because we didn't want to argue about money. We knew that was a really large stressor on marriages, and we felt that we were called to just set our marriage up to not argue, and that's one of the largest things people argue about. So that's important. So hold on to that piece of info. So as we moved to Plymouth, we wanted to find a church, and we wanted to start a family. And for years, I was terrified of, being able to have kids, I don't know what that looks like. I'm afraid of having a kid too young or not. And so when we started to have kids, I've always been just very sure of what's the next step in my life. That's always just been a thing that I've been blessed with. This is my next step. So we talked about it, and we decided we were going to start our family. And that did not look at all like we had planned. We thought we would decide to have kids, and we would have a kid. And that's not how it went for us. So for 3 years, Matt and I tried to grow our family. And for 3 years, nothing happened. And during those 3 years, we became very desperate to have a child. I think God was just trying to get us to a point where we were desperate enough to lean on him, because we weren't leaning on him at all. We wanted to go to church. We wanted to do the right thing. We wanted to, we're good. We're going to get into heaven. We're good people. We show up to church, and that's not what was happening. And so we ended up filling out some paperwork for an adoption agency in Indianapolis called Adoption Support Center. And we also went to a fertility specialist that same week. And they did a bunch of tests. We went home, and that Saturday, I found out I was pregnant with Ben. In the back, Ben, raise your hand. There he is. And it was just amazing. I mean, we were ready to just submit the adoption paperwork. And that weekend, before the Monday, we had said, okay, on Monday, we're submitting paperwork to begin the process to adopt. And then we found out we were pregnant with Ben. And just what a miracle his life is for us. We had a really hard pregnancy. And so for the first 25 weeks, we really, really struggled. I was in and out of the hospital, and Ben was almost born. And then Ben was born early at 32 and a half weeks. So I had been admitted for 5 days, and then Ben was born. And so that was also a really trying time. And so God was He was just really pushing us. Like, I know that you guys love me, and I know that there is so much more for you. And so he was just giving us these trials to help push us towards him. And I don't know about you, but I think every large thing that happened to us pushed us further into our relationship with him. So I forgot to mention that before Ben, we did get pregnant, and we found out we were going to have a miscarriage. And that was really devastating, and we shortly got pregnant with Ben afterwards. So all of this, Ben was about 2. We decided we wanted to continue to grow our family. And then I suffered 2 more miscarriages. And the last one was really, really extremely devastating because I was almost 20 weeks along, and baby was alive. It's just that my body doesn't like to be pregnant. And so we lost the baby, and that was really, really traumatizing. And I would say that was one of the hardest years of my life. I don't know about Matt, but I just felt like I was kind of wandering in a wilderness. Like, I didn't want to seek God. I was mad at him. I remember going to counseling and saying, like, God wasn't in that room. I did not feel him. I felt the most alone I've ever felt in my life. And he was there. I just had pushed him so far away because it was so painful. So Matt and I literally that weekend after we lost the last baby, I was just laying in bed, and I was like, I'm done with this. I don't want to be pregnant ever again, and we're going to adopt, and that's just it. Like, we're growing our family that way, and Matt doesn't say no very often. He's a really good partner in the fact that we talk things out, and he's caring and kind, and he just looked at me and said, no, we're not doing that. We're going to take a pause. Like, you need to heal. We need to heal. We need to, seek what we're supposed to do next. And so that was really hard because I wasn't very happy that he told me no. But thinking about it, I realized, like, he doesn't tell me no often. And so when he does, I need to stop and really think about that. So.
All right. So that last miscarriage was extremely hard, and there were some really sad times in the Emenhiser house. So we kind of struggled through that, and on my end, I don't know if anybody's experienced things like this. It's I really didn't understand. Looking back, I was part of it, but it wasn't happening physically to me. And it was hard to understand those things from a guy's point of view. At least that's how I felt. But that last miscarriage was extremely hard. And Lindsay wanted to throw her hat into the adoption ring. And I was open to that, but with the level of emotion and everything that was going on, we felt that it was a good time to let's just put a pause on things and see what God has in store for us and our family. So really, at that point in our lives, we were attending another church, and we were going somewhat regularly. I transferred to a different shift. Before in this story, I was kind of working shift work at the police department. Never really on a good schedule. Really, to attend church was pretty difficult. And later, when all this is going on, I was a third shifter, which made it extremely hard. So, when you show up for church and you're falling asleep when the pastor's talking and trying to listen as hard as you can, it was extremely difficult for me. So obviously, that hindered me into attending church. And so that kind of left Lindsay attending church on her own. And then soon after that, Lindsay started coming here with her sister and her family, Chelsea. Started to come into church here, and we met this community, and she's kind of on her own there in the church realm. But she came here, and she would talk about how things were different here. The way the community was, and you all were, a different thing than we experienced. I think at that time she went for a few weeks, and she's like, man, I know more people at this church in a few weeks than I've ever known at the other church over the years of going. So that's how things were different. And man, I opened my Bible, I'm reading my Bible more, and it was just really excited for her. And like I said, for her, because I wasn't part of it. But when, Lindsay told me, being a police officer is kind of hard. Being around new people is kind of, you get kind of insulated in what you're doing and who you're around. So Lindsay said, hey, we're going to community group is coming up. I'm going to go to this, and it's going to be over at the Gibbons family. And I said, oh, that's great. She kind of mentioned it a few times during the week, and that she's getting ready to go. And I'm like, hey, have fun. She's like, no, you're coming with me. And I'm like, what? So I didn't even know I was going. And then, so I showed up, and and I really had a good time. I would say she kind of tricked me into the community group thing, but I found some people, and really they were just like me, not perfect, and liked hunting and sports, and I was always kind of nervous about getting around new people and stuff, especially that time in my life. So, and really that's how we started coming to Plymouth Community Church, and it's been a great time since then. But right around that time, we started talking about adoption again, and we really sat down and, okay, what is it going to look like for us to adopt? If you've never looked into that, it's really expensive, okay? So we kind of looked at some finances and how much money we could save, and we realized we could probably do this in about a year. We didn't want to throw our hat in the ring and have all these bills get incurred and get behind on things. So we're like, in a year from now, we'll start that process. And yeah.
For the record, I just said, would you please come with me to CG? And he said, sure. And I said, I won't ever ask you again if you don't like it. That was a big bet, but I felt God was like, he'll go again. Don't you worry. So I was like, okay, God. So we came here, and Matt's just been, again, a really great provider and leader in our family, especially when it comes to finances. And him saying, we are not adopting and incurring a bunch of debt was a huge thing for us. So to say, okay, God, what's it going to look like? And it was like, okay, it's going to take at least a year. And that was hard because I was like, I want to grow our family now, right? Like my heart was just in so much pain, and I felt that a child would help that, and that actually is not true. That couldn't be further from the truth. And so this time was really great for us and to grow our relationship in God, and just being here at PCC with the people that were real, could share their stories, could share their pains and their hurt, and show when God showed up was such a turning point in our lives and in our relationship with Jesus Christ. And I can't thank the people here enough. And I encourage you all to just continue to be real with each other and raw about what you're going through, because life can be really hard. And if we don't share and we just show our perfect little lives, people don't understand that we're just like each other. And so we started talking about adoption and raising money, and we talked with the church about hosting a fundraiser here, and the church was all on board. Like, yes, we're going to do this. We're excited. And my mom was going to make chicken and noodles, and we're going to sell out tickets. It was going to happen. And so we started talking, okay, what does that look like? And this was at the end of September. So we're looking at dates. The date that was open was November 10th. Okay, that's really soon. How are we going to sell tickets? What are we going to do? Okay, maybe we should wait until April of next year. That'll be a good time to also do it. So we're talking, and Matt's like, I don't know, I'm really nervous about this. And I just said, I feel like we have to have it on the 10th. And it wasn't me, my flesh, saying that. It was literally something inside of me, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, saying, this is the date. This is 100% the date. So we did it, okay? We sold out before the event. And it was just amazing. It was a great day to see all these people show up. And Jim and Lisa were the first people at church after we shared that we were going to have this fundraiser. They were the first people to show up and buy tickets from us. And they were so excited for us. And the really cool part is that we've just gotten to know them from that point on so much better. And he says, they're at kids' age, but we're just so glad that we had them in our lives. We do feel like they've just shepherded us and continue to shepherd us. And so they were pivotal, and there were just so many people in this church that were pivotal. I mean, Allie and Josh, they're like, we'll sell tickets for you. We'll take 10. We'll take 20. Okay, we sold this many. And everyone was like, hey, let us know what you need us to do. And people were just so supportive, and that was God. I mean, he had all of this planned. He knew where we were supposed to be. So Matt was just going to kind of tell, like, after the fundraiser, we sat down to see kind of where we landed financially.
Yeah, so really that was the big kickoff to our kind of adoption and raising money, and we sat down and counted up money afterwards of all the stuff we raised, and we realized, hey, we don't need to wait a year. We're good now. So, and at that point we started putting money and started going towards the adoption center. And do you want to talk about the timeline?
Okay, so that was November 10th. We had the money we needed. Like, you guys, adoption is about $40,000 on the low end. And so to have that money that we thought would take a year to raise is wild. And only God could do that. And so we were like, okay, so we're going to begin the process. And so in January, we started meeting with the agency. And it takes a lot of work to be ready for that process. So then by May of 2020, which if you stop, if we had waited to have our fundraiser in April, it would have been April of 2020 and everything was shut down. We would never have been able to have that fundraiser, okay? So, like, that's also amazing, right? Like, what a blessing that we felt that call. And so in May of 2020, we became an active family. And so what that means for this agency specifically is that we are able to be shown, our profile was able to be shown to expectant mothers. And expectant moms are mothers who are looking to place their children in a home. They're not exactly sure if that's exactly what they want to do, but they are making plans. And so we were able to be shown. And literally a week after we were live on the website, my dad got a terminal diagnosis, and we all halted. That was just a big thing for us. And so we talked to my dad, and we just felt like maybe we shouldn't do this right now. Like, maybe we shouldn't. This is just a lot. This is a lot of sad and happy at the same time. And what we've come to find out is, unfortunately or fortunately, that's how life works. You have to be able to hold both of those. And so my dad was like, no way, like, I'm looking forward to this. Let's focus on this. This is good stuff. I'm excited to have another grandchild. And so we continued. You want to ask a question? Liam wants to ask a question. And so on August 10th, I went to work. And at noon, I got a phone call from our agency, and they said, hey, we have a baby boy who's being born today, and he will be here by about 5 o'clock. And the expectant mom has chosen you guys. And I was like, wait, what? Okay, all of this is like, I need you to repeat that. I'm kind of, So I call Matt, doesn't answer. I call Matt, doesn't answer. And I'm thinking maybe he's still sleeping because he was on a different shift, And I call him again. Finally, he answers, and he's like, what? Like, oh my gosh, there's a baby, and we need to get to Indianapolis. And he's, Lindsay, you're yelling, and I can't understand you. And so I'm like, okay, hold on. So we pack up our stuff, and Ben goes to stay with my sister and brother-in-law, Devin and Chelsea, and we head to Indianapolis. And there's a lot more to that story. But we get there, we wait, and then about 9:30, they take us to a room, and they wheel this baby, into our room, and it's really just the craziest feeling in the entire world that a baby that you did not birth is in this room with you, and God has chosen him to be your child. And so we were really in awe just at everything that had happened and that was going to happen, and so grateful, but also wanted to protect our hearts, because in Indiana, expectant parents have time to change their mind, and rightfully so, and we wanted to prepare our hearts for that. So 24 hours later, Liam was legally ours, and we just felt this, I don't know, it was crazy, honestly. I don't know how to explain it. It was amazing and crazy, and we're just so thankful that God just did all these miracles and all of these wonderful things, and just gave us what our heart desired, but in his way, because during that time we prayed a ton, is this our hearts just wanting to do this, our selfish want, or is this what you want? And both of us felt that it was what God wanted after praying about it for about 6 months. And so here we are, and Liam was born. And the last thing I want to say is that, okay, our money came in much faster than we thought. COVID happened. We had our fundraiser before COVID. And then gestationally, our fundraiser was on November 10th, and Liam was born on August 10th. And if you know anything about pregnancy is usually 40 weeks, and that was 10 months to the day. So I don't know. I know people think pregnancy is 9 months, is actually 10. But if you know anything about that, like, you just know that God had predestined Liam, obviously way before any of us were alive, but he predestined Liam to be in our family, and that was just such an amazing hand that he had in our life. So we're very grateful. Sorry we talked too long.
Looking back at our story, I feel like God was preparing us for our adventure really when we first started doing some premarital counseling, taking Financial Peace University. If we wouldn't take those steps, we would have never been where we were when we looked at adoption, and really set us up for where we are today, and really having Liam in our lives. We're just so grateful as a family for you all. If you were here or not here when that took place, we're just so grateful, because you guys were all part of what our family is today, and we couldn't have done it without this church and you all that were attendants. We're just so grateful and blessed to have a church family and a community and friends and people to rely on for our family and for our kids. So I talked to a lot of different people about their church and things like that, and we are so blessed to have so many kids in this church. It is amazing. They are just a gift from God, and we love it. I know we all kind of get annoyed and with them running around and up here and wanting to talk on the microphone when we are, but man, that's just such a blessing to have, because there's a lot of churches that don't have that. So, did you want me to pray? Yeah.